After hours of shooting and facing a line of troops, the crowd is still here. They're shouting, "Stop the killing!"
2 years after the stunning invasion of Europe by Russia and their successful occupation of all of mainland Europe, things remain shaky on the home front. No one has enough food, supplies are really bad everywhere, things are terrible. The government's continuing to make hoarders the enemy.
Yeah, Rick and Denise, we've traveled to multiple places in the county as well as in the city, and it's just safe to say Marylanders are just trying to do everything they can to protect themselves. If there's one thing in common with shoppers across Baltimore,
it's like everybody just came in and wiped out everything.
It's the frustration finding daily essentials we all need to survive.
Shelves were empty.
They only had about 2 cases left, Aquafina.
Water, definitely, hand sanitizer, soap, all the necessities to just survive.
I went to go get some eggs. Nothing on the shelves. Nothing.
But as you know, finding what you need is nearly impossible.
People were just scanning, taking a panoramic shot of just empty shelves where meat used to be.
It was just cutthroat.
At Hamden's Giant, parking lots look more like rush hour in I-83 South.
Everything's closed up. There's nothing there.
My stress level from 1 to 10 is 8 million.
What am I going to do? I'm going to barricade myself in my house and live with my cat.
There's no panic, just awareness with Baltimore on high alert as everyone adjusts to the new normal. And if you're trying to do a little online shopping to beat the madness, you may be out of luck. They're not expected to ship for weeks.
Now, the panic buying at the grocery stores is still in full effect, and it is doubling up prices on certain items, unfortunately.
Yeah, we've had some people who have been tweeting us at BT Toronto and at City Tammy saying that now we have a lot of pictures that have been coming in from grocery stores right across the GTA. The very long lineups at the cash and even lineups to get inside of some of the stores, and a lot of store shelves that have been left empty of some key items. Now, one shopper who we spoke to here at the Metro at Church and Front, she says that she has indeed stocked up a few weeks ago, but the mass hysteria, she says, doesn't help everyone.
I think the problem with people seeing that stuff on TV is it does tend to create a sense of panic.
I think 7 days ago was a little crazy, but it's definitely gotten crazier.
Outside the Stop and Shop in Wyckoff, customers describe their new food shopping experience.
Pretty much empty. The shelves are empty, limited milk.
Down the street in Ramsey, a new reality sinks in for shoppers. They have to wait in line just to get in the grocery store. But employees say they are still out of stock on a few basic items. Some say hoarding is a big part of the problem.
I think everyone needs to just keep calm. Don't hoard materials. The supply chain's going to work if everyone's patient.
The supermarkets are absolutely crazy.
Back at the supermarket, as customers wait in line inside and out, normalcy is fading from everyday life.
The shopping nightmare sparked by panic buyers and hoarders is leading to new problems tonight. Many stores are now limiting their hours, where some shoppers are getting fed up with those hoarders. Right, Nicole?
Yeah, Jeff, everyone we talked to tonight said that they were only making their regular amount of purchases for the week, but still it was really hard for them to find essential items like milk, bread, and eggs. So they're hoping that these new limited hours help the situation. Grocery stores are closing their doors early, a response to an overwhelming spike in panic shopping and hoarding.
People are hoarding, and then I feel like we all should have respect for the fact that we all need things.
This is the second store we've been to.
So you have to go to at least a third?
Probably.
But Denise and her daughter say they understand why stores are limiting not only their business hours, but their products. This Stater Bros in Chino is limiting the sale of water, milk, eggs, paper products, cleaning supplies, and medication to 1 per household.
There's a lot of people that are being hysterical about this. I myself, I'm just trying to do my daily shopping.
I'd rather be on that end of society than the other.
People are told not to hoard, but I think it's happening again.
We've seen people become more and more concerned, and we've seen their indications of stress and their willingness and desire and intent to stockpile increase commensurate with that.
I just think it is selfish, number one, and number two, it's not necessary.
I think it's just human nature. We all know that conditions are getting worse, and people just want to stock up.
Besides toilet paper, some appliances are hard to find. News 8 reached out to Home Depot, who would only say, quote, "Our merchandising and supply chain teams are working to replenish in-demand products as quickly as possible.
Britain particularly is in a terrible situation. The Atlantic Bridge remains only by air because, simply put, the Ivanov AI torpedo, we haven't come up with a way of neutralising it, and it's sinking ship after ship that we try and put across however we do it. We need an alternative and we haven't got one yet. Mainland Europe is very much behind an iron curtain. Almost no news is getting out from there.
Probably noticed ingredients for a salad are hard to come by. Well, in winter, the UK imports a lot of fruit and veg from Spain and North Africa. That's why 4 major UK supermarkets are rationing their produce right now. Asda has limited several items to just 3 per customer. You're only allowed 2 lots of tomatoes, cucumbers, lettuce and peppers at Morrison's, and 3 units of peppers, cucumbers and tomatoes at Aldi and Tesco.
It does suggest that now would be a great time to eat a lot more seasonal food for the next few weeks, just as we're bridging that gap till we can get those seasonal vegetables in, starting that growing season in the UK.
But we can't pick up the momentum. That's where we are with it.
Do you think this problem could get worse?
Yeah, before it gets better.
Britain is seeing a return to rationing. Shortage in key salad staples such as tomatoes, cucumbers and peppers. However, some say the problem goes far deeper.
It's outrageous. This isn't sustainable. It's not going to work.
The government says supply problems could last until the end of March. However, some experts warn we could see empty shelves and more farmers going out of business.
Britain started rationing, but unfortunately the government app to do the rationing failed almost immediately, and food shortages in Britain is basically famine, and it's led to widespread riots. The Emergency War Powers Act the British passed didn't really work very well. They interned hundreds of thousands of people, but it's hard to inter people who are starving to death and have nothing to lose, and the violence in England is still ongoing. A lot of violence, a lot of crime. It's really awful over there, and again, our news is what we have of it is pretty well sanitised.
Violence broke out after the end of the second big anti-internment demonstration of the weekend. When the demonstrators began dispersing, a mob of about 300 youths started stoning soldiers. The army moved in with vehicles and the shooting then began.
Tonight's rioting and shooting was the climax of a violent weekend. After stone throwing, troops came under fire.
Sticking up to the top! Keep it this side, lads. He's on the top. Spread out on the screen, okay? Stay here.
As the firing went on, troops tried to move lorries that had been hijacked and used to block roads. How the incident began, no one's sure. It came out of the blue on a hot summer's evening. The battle lasted 2 hours, and the casualty list has not yet been fully counted. One problem facing troops was where the snipers were hiding. Derelict buildings with broken roofs in the area were perfect sniper cover.
Well, get your head down, open it. He's still hitting the corner of that building. He ain't hitting nowhere near us. Sure. He's still hitting the corner of the building. mum.
What should I do now?
No point to. I'll say sorry, mum.
What should I do?
Just point that.
As the shooting quietened down, youths raided a container depot and hijacked several lorries. Sporadic shooting still continues tonight.
When Europe fell, China also walked into Taiwan. America and Japan really couldn't do too much about that because all of the ships and all of the troops are redeployed to try and save Europe from falling and also to resupply Britain. This is the last news report that came out of Taipei.
The noise of gunfire, it was unremitting. On the streets leading down to the main road, furious people stared in disbelief at the glow in the sky, listening to the sound of shots. Heading down the road was a hazardous business, but hundreds of people cheered as buses were set alight and army trucks caught fire too. They yelled and shouted, and then as troop lorries were seen moving down the road, there was gunfire from those lorries.
Troops have been firing indiscriminately, but still there are thousands of people on the streets who will not move back.
The bicycle rickshaws scooped up the injured. Others were shunted onto bikes and pedaled to hospital. Many were carried away by frantic local residents. There was confusion and despair. Many were bystanders, perhaps naive about the savagery of the situation. Indeed, it was hard at times to grasp that this army was launching into an unarmed civilian population as if charging into battle. The sound of gunfire sounded like a battle, but it was one-sided. A line of soldiers was strung out facing a huge crowd. The air was filled with shouts of "Fascists! Stop killing!" We were in the line facing the troops. They were about 250 yards away. Young people were singing the Internationale to a background of gunfire.
After hours of shooting and facing a line of troops, the crowd is still here. They're shouting, "Stop the killing!"
A huge volley of shots just as I left the front line caused panic. The young man in front of me fell dead. I fell over him. 2 others were killed yards away. 2 more people lay wounded on the ground near me. Ambulances screamed up to the troop line and were turned away. They couldn't get to the square. 2 ambulance drivers were shot and injured. We picked up a woman with a bullet in the head and took her to the nearby children's hospital, into a scene of near mayhem. Casualties were arriving every few seconds, on bikes, rickshaws, park benches, carried in, all with gunshot wounds. Housewives, elderly residents, people shot while sitting in their homes. The operating theatre was overflowing, many of the staff in tears. In 20 minutes, 40 seriously injured were brought for emergency surgery. 2 were already dead. In the streets, many came up to us, shaking with anger and disbelief and fear. Many were terrified, saying there would be retribution. There was not one voice on the streets which did not express despair and rage. Tell the world, they said to us.
The world isn't listening. It either supports China or it's preoccupied with its own problems. When the Americans sank a couple of the Chinese boats, China, and it seemed it was planned in advance, smashed into North American oil refineries using cruise missiles. Again, not using nukes, thank goodness, but it caused widespread oil shortages that are really, really harming us all. It's getting very hard to get food around North America.
You need to get back out to that breaking news. Look at this. Garvin County Sheriff's Office confirming that crews are at some sort of medical emergency at the refinery in Wynnewood. An explosion, a fire of some sort. Bear with us. Our helicopter is having some signal issues, so this video may go in and out, but you can see billowing black smoke coming from the refinery.
Right now, Jim Gardner is in Bob Mills, Sky News 9, over the scene. Jim, what are you seeing?
Well, right now, this is, like you said, this is the Wynnewood refinery. Now, this refinery sits right on the southwest edge of the town of Wynnewood here. and it's in a part of the refinery that is closest to the town. Right now, we understand that the one person possibly has been transported. I know right before I got here, there was an air evac helicopter that landed. I don't know if he picked up somebody or not. We're trying to get information here. But like this is Wynnewood Refining. This has been several different refineries here. It was Conoco, then it was Williams. Now I understand it's Wynnewood Refining.
Apparently, people as far away as southwest Jersey felt the explosion. This is not just a refinery. In fact, we've just got video coming in. Hopefully we can run it. That's a live look at the actual fire now. But let's be clear. The Philadelphia Energy Solutions refinery, 330,000 barrels a day, the biggest refinery on the East Coast, blew up about 30 minutes ago. And that explosion, like I said, actually was felt tens of miles away. That is the video of the explosion. I want you to watch this, guys. It's on fire, and you're going to... That is the largest oil refinery in the East Coast, like I said.
I felt the house shake. We thought, like, something hit the house. It rattled the window so bad. And I come up, and there was a great big plume of black smoke, like a mushroom cloud, just over the trees over here.
More than 2,000 workers were inside the facility, rushing to get out, as firefighters and emergency crews rushed in to fight the flames. The refinery is less than 5 kilometers from the city center and surrounded by residential neighborhoods, the closest homes just a few hundred meters away. Neighbors watching in horror, and as Kayla Hounsell tells us, from inside the refinery it was even more frightening.
They're not getting it under control. It's getting worse.
Employees inside the plant felt the explosion before they saw it.
We got blasted to the ground. Everything blew up and I didn't know what to do.
Jonathan Wright is a contractor at the refinery. He was working just meters from the blast. The heat kept him from the stairs to get down.
I had to grab on the scaffold poles and hang down so I can jump to the next level because there's no ladders.
When he reached the ground, he fled the property.
I ran the whole entire way out of there because I've seen refineries fires and they're terrible.
And one of them came by in a truck in his overalls and said, "Get out of here."
Many who live close to the refinery fled too.
All else fails and that place did go, we're done.
This of course has led to almost no oil, no gasoline. Heating's a major problem in winter and it's terrible out there. People are really suffering. Since Russia and China released a communique labelling Western states that remained as terrorist states, it's been impossible to get people to trade with us. Our currency isn't able to really buy anything and it's pretty much valueless. Inflation was crazy for a while until the government put controls in. Bartering and black market is basically what's feeding most of the population at this point over here.
They're not paid exactly union wages either. As a matter of fact, a tank of gas is all they ask. They do it for the fun.
We're getting some gas. We're not going to take money. We're taking our gas in the 5-gallon cans from the Hills Mobile's station. We're going to just keep it.
Why take gas, not money?
We're going to keep it and hoard it. Money's no good anymore. We've decided to use gas as currency.
All our news is government news now. Basically Facebook, YouTube and everything else was either closed down for a long period of time or has been sanitized to the point where you dare not put anything up online that contradicts the government's angle or you could find yourself interned. Instead, people are watching videos about how people coped in World War II.
Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca. Welcome to my home. It's so nice of you to join me. Thank you for popping by. I am going to be taking up a little bit of a challenge. I will be doing the wartime ration challenge and I'll be doing it over 5 weeks.
The government's also putting stuff out to try and tell us how to deal with the famine that's going on, but it's hardly reassuring.
You should by now have built up an emergency reserve of tinned food or other foods that don't go off quickly and that can be eaten cold. Keep your food reserves in your fallout room and remember to keep them well covered to protect them from fallout dust. There might be fallout dust on the packaging. Take care this does not get into the food. So wipe the tins, packets and bottles. You may not be able to replace your stocks of food for a long time, so make them last. Most of the time, you'll be resting in your fallout room, and you won't need to consume much food. Eat the smallest amount you can get by with, and plan meals carefully so that there is no waste. And remember, keep your food covered from fallout. Wrap open tins and loose foods. Prepare small amounts at a time. You may not be able to replace your stocks for a long time, so ration food carefully.
After 2 years of war, pretty much all parts of our society is shut except for those parts that are for the war effort. And global foreign trade for us in the West is pretty much not there at all. It's massively problematic.
In Spokane, Washington, Multicare Deaconess Hospital is turning down more than half of patient transfer requests from other states because there's not enough room.
This was a really tough week. I'm finishing the end of 7 days in the ICU, and I will tell you, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Some hospitals are considering whether to activate what's known as crisis standards of care, essentially guidelines for how to ration resources.
Just several miles down the freeway is the Idaho border.
So we have certainly struggled, as we know, and that struggle has translated into a hospital system and a healthcare system that's overwhelmed.
To relieve the pressure on hospitals, Idaho has officially activated crisis standards of care. At many of these hospitals, the staffing crisis is the worst they've seen. This one in northern Idaho alone has about 500 job openings.
It is dire. Russia and China are ascendant, and neither of them are talking peace. Canada, Japan, America and Australia are basically crippled and failing states. Britain seems to me to be an actively dying one. Next week, another 2 years go by. What then? Thanks for watching. This is a scenario, it's a thought experiment, and rest assured, we will be saved at the end of the day. Sort of. Toodles.